With everything disengaged from disengaging itself, cutting the cutting itself, sees the ceasing itself. There's not much. It's not about practicing. It sees the ceasing itself. It's not about maintaining and sustaining. Purify the purification itself, cutting the cutting itself, disengage from disengagement itself. Even the karmic difficulties, having or not having, it doesn't matter. Just conclude with this essence. The cutting will happen to its cycle automatically. Just remind oneself with the essence of cutting the cutting itself, uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself. All the karmic difficulties will cut through its cycle automatically. Don't try to eliminate anything. Just remind oneself it will happen by itself. The cutting will happen by itself. To try to purify is not true purification. Use the holy sacred words of the essence in your reminder. The purification will happen automatically. Just remind oneself everything, discard the discarding itself. The cutting will happen on its own to any cycles of karmic difficulties. Don't try. The trying is added, trying to dissolve, trying to purify. It will create bounce back by irritation. There is no need for that. Just remind oneself, that's all. Uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself, like this, then uninvolvement will happen automatically. Discard the discarding itself. It will happen in the way that discarding happens automatically. The attempt to do anything will just become a new karma. It's added on more than needed. Use the reminder constantly. Constantly use the reminders. We don't know what is there that is finished or ended, because there are so many layers of karmic difficulties. We cannot use knowing or acknowledgement. Acknowledgement can happen for that which is still there, but that which has been gone in many layers of karmic difficulties, one will not realize it, will not know it. Therefore, just use the reminders constantly. Just discard the discarding itself. It will not emphasize on grasping. Just use reminder. Once it's constant, the power of discard the discarding itself will be much more. It's gonna increase. This is gonna be the power to cut through absolutely. The word discard the discarding itself is not about discarding karmic difficulties. To try to purify the vibhak, the karmic difficulties, it's like trying to let go of the karmic difficulties, but not letting go on its own. That is already further than needed. Therefore, let go of the letting go itself only, not let go of it. Don't think of letting go of any states of mind, the mind, or anything whatsoever. Don't do that. This has nothing to do with Nibbana. The karmic difficulties, having or not having, is going to be by itself. What is going to be gone, it will be happening on its own. What is there that is still remaining, it will be gone also by itself. Therefore, don't try to let go. Definitely. Just use the reminder. Let go of the letting go itself. That's it. Use the reminders like this constantly. The letting go will happen automatically on its own. The karmic difficulties will be ended. Is anatta and anicca in itself. The vibhak doesn't grasp for itself either. It's there because of the cause Therefore, it's there, and it has its own period of time. Just use the reminders. Disengage from disengagement itself. The cutting will happen on its own. Don't try to disengage from this or that, trying to let go of this or that. That's not the way. Let go of the letting go itself instead. Ending is there. Just like cease the ceasing itself, end the ending itself. When there is no ending because trying to let go of this and that is not ceasing itself. It's still a practice. It's not ending itself, therefore it's endless. Therefore, don't try to let go of anything. Step back to let go of the letting go itself only. Discarding as well. Discard the discarding itself. No grasping as well. Don't try to not grasp for anything. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Otherwise, it's gonna be a practice. It's ending. It's not ending itself in the practice in such a way. Therefore, with everything, just use the reminders. They are the reminders that purify themselves. They give ending to themselves. It will not proceeding forward. For example, disengage from disengagement itself. It's impossible to proceed forward. It's just cutting within itself. It will not becoming samsara that proceeding forward. So just use the reminders continuously. There is not much here. These are the reminders that is out from itself, getting out of itself, release from itself. Just use the reminder. It's not to purify defilements. Just purify the purification itself. Then there is no defilement in the attempt to purify anything. Normally, there is the saying that trying to let go of defilement or purify defilements, just like using defilements to let go of defilements, is the same side, it's the same group, same type. How can it be used to purify anything or let go of anything? Because they are from the same type. It's impossible to let go of. Let go of the letting go itself instead. Then it will end the attempt to let go. The defile of letting go will be ended as well. Listen well. Listen in the way that gives ending. End the ending itself. There will not become samsara in the practice. Listen well. Samsara will not be created in the practice. If listening and then there is a practice, that kind of listening doesn't work because the practice is still samsara within itself. If listening creates practicing, that kind of listening doesn't work. Listening must give ending to the mind. Otherwise, it's going to be samsara that continue onwards. That is not true cutting deluded knowing, the true essence of the enlightenment. Listening, ending is there. Listen to that which cuts through the cutting itself and involved within the uninvolvement itself. That is aligned with the essence of the enlightenment, cutting the cutting itself and involved within the uninvolvement itself. Instead of uninvolved with anything, stepping back to uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself, ending is right there. It will not become samsara further. Ending is right there. The reminder is different than the practice. The practice begins with the projection for attainment. It's from the desire. But the reminders are the reminders that cut through themselves. It is the awareness that cuts through itself. It's not a practice. The practice is practice for something, but cutting the cutting itself is not about grasping for the cutting. Cutting the cutting itself is not grasping for cutting. There is karmic habits that overlaying by the grasping mind. It will naturally ending. Just continue directly with whatever that is given here. Because the cutting is cutting at the present. It's not proceeding forward to the future. The grasping is proceeding for the future, is aiming forward. But what is given here, the cutting within itself, it doesn't grasp for the present. The present doesn't grasp for the present. There is no aim here. Just like cutting doesn't grasp for cutting itself. It's not about aiming at all. There is no determination here for anything, not about proceeding to be or to proceed for anything at the present. Even karmic habits is hidden there. It will end automatically. The grasping mind will be ended automatically. What is given here is not about grasping. Mind from mind itself, what is there that is grasping? Let go of the letting go itself, what is there that is grasping? What is given here is not about grasping. Even there is a hidden grasping mind, trying to end. All that kind of hidden desire will be gone by itself. Whatever that is given is not about grasping. If it's given for grasping, then the grasping will proceeding forward endlessly. This is the essence of cutting deluded knowing truly. It's not about cutting anything. Cutting is within itself. To cut anything, the cutting will not cutting itself. To let go of anything, it will not let go of itself. There will be a habit of trying to let go that is remaining. Is endless. Therefore, samsara is just not ending. Therefore, we have to help ending altogether, because it has been unending until the future. Therefore, we need to help ending for samsara. To help together ending is not about ending into the future. Ending is within itself. Let go of the letting go itself at the present, not the future. Every present. Let go of the letting go itself constantly with everything. That's all. It will happen accordingly. It will not become something else. Just remind constantly. They are the reminders that purify themselves. They dissolve themselves. They cut through the reminders themselves. They don't grasp for themselves. Listen well. This is rare. You cannot find this kind of reflection anywhere else. Since it's declared this Satchidhamma, so many non-humans has been brightened up. The way is not lengthy into the future. It's just shorten the short. And the one who walk the path, and also the delusive attachment, ending altogether. This is end the ending itself. Listening and end accordingly is like this. At the Buddha time, at every Buddha era, ending is according to listening to what is given as ending. That's why it happened accordingly. Ending accordingly. Listen like this. Ending will happen accordingly. Since the past, and listen until into the future. Ending will happen accordingly too. This is ending the ending itself. Ending the attempt to end is not about ending, giving ending to anything. Ending the attempt to end instead. Seize the ceasing itself instead. It's not about trying to seize anything. Let go of the letting go itself. It's not about trying to let go of anything. That's why ending is according to this reminder. In the past, it's ending like this. Accordingly, it's the same essence. Listening without the possible, it's impossible to proceed forward. Because ceasing is right there. That is ending the path and the result. Right there and then, ending the practice. Ending. Once it's ending, there is no need to ask for the future. To ask for the future, that means it's unending. You are not giving ending there. Listening and ending, that's it. For example, no grasping for the non-grasping itself. It's not about not grasping for the world, all things, body, mind, or Dhamma. Not grasping for the non-grasping itself instead. Then it will give ending to the act of not grasping. If not just not grasping is unending, there is still a practice there. How can there be ending? It's not. Have to step back, not grasping for the non-grasping itself. Then ending is there. Don't be deluded to not grasping for anything. There is no need to not grasp for or grasping for anything. This era is the era of ending accordingly, following ending accordingly, because of listening. It is not the era of practicing. It's the era of ending, because the practice itself is samsara, is the arising. If disengaged from disengagement itself constantly, then ending the ending itself also constantly. Cutting the cutting itself constantly. Mind from mind itself constantly. No exhaustion here. To cut anything, it's just exhausting. It's just always grasping, always complaining about unable to cut or not, on and on. That is exhausting. Because the cutting doesn't cut through itself. It's just a delusion to cut. Being deludedly cutting in a way with delusion. That's why it's exhausting. If step back to mind from mind itself, cutting will be within itself, ending the path and the result right there. All of these is ending for both the worldlings and the path of the noble ones. If you still practicing, it's unending because it's the arising. It's the becoming. Practicing for hell or heaven is just practicing to become realms of existence. Is unending. Even you give Luang Po the whole heaven, Luang Po doesn't want it, no desire for it. However, we have to be amidst samsara to help end for samsara with the great compassion. Nibbana also no need to take it. The taking is a burden. Grasping is a burden. Because wanting Nibbana is become a burden. That's why no grasping for the non-grasping itself end the burdens. There is no need to burden anything with one's own titi, with one's own feelings, whether it's about liberating or not. By such a feelings, there is no need to carry and burden feelings, whether it's being empty or not, liberated or not, Nibbana or not, in such burdens. Burden with titi, seeing and knowing, cut through totally, absolutely cutting. Therefore, with everything, disengage from disengagement itself, with everything, uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself. This is the conclusion is within itself. It will affect the conclusion for samsara simultaneously. ending as helping samsara is simultaneous. It affects as a whole altogether. There are not any Buddha eras that is giving someone to practice, only just giving ending, but there are still karmic habits that is there. Using the reminders for cutting instead. Ending will happen accordingly. It's not about practicing. Anyone who is practicing, it will proceed in a lengthy way for a long time into the future. Therefore, use the reminders that cut through it themselves constantly. Mind from mind itself, uninvolved within the involvement itself. Constantly end the ending itself. End the ending itself continuously. Cut through the cutting itself constantly. It affects samsara in the way that they will cut through accordingly. If you drag a long way, they will also dragging a long way. Shorten the short itself, they will also shorten up accordingly. They like to follow anyway. If you shorten the short, then they will also shorten the short accordingly. They like to do that also. If cut through the cutting itself, then they will follow in the same cutting way. In this samsara, they just follow each other. The desire also follow each other. The delusive attachment also following each other. Therefore, more or less, if you cut through the cutting itself, they also will follow you in the same way. It affects collectively. Even delusion in samsara affects everyone collectively. They just follow delusions from one another. They follow each other in this samsara. If you cut through the cutting itself as a reminder, they will follow in the same way. This is the benefits of ending personally and collectively simultaneously. So be thorough. These are the reminders of cutting. They are the types of reminders that cannot become samsara because they cut through themselves. They dissolve themselves. For example, mind from mind itself. If you remind yourself with this, it purifies itself. It will not become samsara. It cuts through itself. It is not samsara. That's why it's the reminder of cutting. Cutting the cutting itself. Listen well. It's not about cutting anything. Listen to the end. Cut through the cutting itself. There is no such a thing as cutting anything. Cutting the cutting itself, not to cut anything. Listen to the end. Within this era, it will be instantaneously cutting like this. The practice cannot be used. It's samsara within itself. Otherwise, there will not be the Brahma realm and angel realms that is supporting these kind of beings. Even human realms, they are the realms that support the payback of karma from the practice. It's karma. It has nothing to do with being arahants. The arahants are with the essence of uninvolved within the uninvolvement itself, let go of the letting go itself. They don't destine in any realms of existence. They can go anywhere in any realms. They will purify there instead of being in those realms. But those who are there in the Brahma realm or angel realms, because they have to pay back their karma by their practices, because practicing is samsara itself. Without ceasing, without mind, even from mind itself only, and the ending itself, cut through the cutting itself only. This is not about disengage from anything, because it's samsara of the noble ones. All these 4 entries to enlightenment, they are the samsara of the noble ones. The letting go must let go of itself, otherwise it becomes samsara of the noble ones. Listen well. The noble ones still samsara, even they are in the high place. They are still having the seed of samsara in there because of the practice, in the form of trying to let go, trying to give up. Therefore, step back to let go of the letting go itself. Then there will be ending for the attempt to let go. It will give ending to the attempt to let go. This is giving ending to the samsara of the noble ones.